Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fireside Chat. This is another speedrun episode where we are going to take you through TDSG episode 4, Put It in My Chest. And
Mhm.
what an episode it has been. I am your host, Edwin Voorhees. I was going to try a new intro and then I forgot to do it, but I'm going to try it on the main channel first anyway. Whatever. Um,
Yeah,
but I'm Edwin, and this is Chef Michi, and we
I
are.
forgot the background is like not letting me be super visible, but
Ooh.
ah,
It's
I actually
nice.
did the background myself, by
I
the way.
know. I love it. I was gonna say I
Thank
love
you.
the blue and the gradient. That baby blue into
Yeah,
like a deep blue looks really nice.
I did that. That's me.
Nice.
I did that. That was me.
Hell yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we're trying to speed run today because we've got a lot going on. We got some other things we have to do after this. So without further ado, let's jump into our recap of Totally Dramatic Survival Games episode 4, starting with our mini challenge. So, first we technically recap last episode. Sorry, I'm already
Yeah.
trying to go off
By
script.
the way, I remember why I couldn't be there
Oh, yeah, why weren't you there?
because I had to take care of my cousin because my aunt was on a trip
Oh.
and I had to handle my cousin.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it w
'Cause he's grown, but he does, have a condition, so
yep.
I had to, like, keep him company, take him out to dinner, and then we spent the rest of the night watching wrestling
Oh, okay, gotcha.
because it coincided with a WWE pay-per-view that night.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we recorded on a weekend, but that makes a lot more
So now
sense.
y'all know why I wasn't there. Matt and I spent so much time looking this up. I mean, sorry,
Mhm.
Edwin and I spent so much time looking this up. We went through our text messages, we went through everything, and then I thought, wait, the only reason I would ever miss this would be because I had familial duties or,
Mm.
familial request.
Mhm.
And evidently, I went through my aunt's text history, which is shorter than me and Edwin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I found it.
Okay, good. I'm glad to know because we also voice memo a lot, or I voice memo a lot. Sorry
You
about
voice memo,
that.
I react.
Yes,
I
and
mean, I used to voice memo more, but that's because I was, like, reacting to a lot of what I was going through at the time,
yeah, and
but we're okay.
yeah,
I mean, we're managing, but
yeah, we do that. We call, so we can't always look it up, but now we know why you weren't there. So very unfortunate but noticeable absence from Michi this episode. But she comes back in full force next episode, which we
of
won't
course
say
I
yet.
do with the brain rot, which,
Yes.
you continue talking while I just, go ahead and here finagle something. So
Yes.
continue.
So last episode was the Ghost of Survivors Past Maxi Challenge, and although the Badgers cheated, oops, they did come away with the win, and our very first camper sent home after a tie vote was Alex. We kind of discussed how there really wasn't going to be a tie vote, but it was just Lauren thinking ahead and putting a safety vote on someone, Alex casting a vote for red, and then Aline and red were just trolling each other. So it created a tie, created a lot more drama, but in the end, uh, Alex went home. But that brings us into this episode, and we start with our mini challenges, which was musical slabs. Very simple, very niche, very. I don't know if I just use niche right, but very fun, very chaotic. Lauren won
I
that.
mean, it's fair considering everything that's going on, so yes,
Yeah,
continue.
I don't think there's really anything big to know of it. It was just a fun little thing that we were doing. The mini challenges we had were to basically fill our recording time, and like if we had a little bit more downtime, we needed to put some stuff into the episode. And so what better thing than musical slabs? And we had fun. They had fun. And Lauren won Pig Step, which is copyrighted. So
Mm.
understandable, but Pig Step rocks, and I wish we could have used it. But nothing really to note there. In terms of the actual game, We see Alex's goodbye message saying, I love you guys. Still very emotional. Going into this episode, we were coming off of a really big, heated elimination. How do you think that kind of set the tone for this episode?
I have to say that it really did a lot for everybody because it kind of made everyone aware of like the stakes that were gonna be on this.
Mm-hmm.
Having that first elimination be what it was. Yeah, they eliminated Alex because of the situations notwithstanding that
Mm-hmm.
y'all saw in the episode. So it really did like drive the point home of what we wanted to do with this.
Right. Yep. And it was dramatic. I think going into this episode, people were a lot more aware of like the actual seriousness of the game because the first two episodes everyone got off scot free and it was just a fun time to be had. And now someone
Mhm.
going home and not being able to come back, except maybe, uh, if you watch the
Oh,
end of
are you
the
talking about something? I
episodes,
don't
I
know.
don't know. Um, but it just really set a tone, and I think we see that in full force once we get to the campfire council portion of this episode. But with that being said, we need to get to the maxi challenge. It's one of my favorites. Put it in my
Mhm.
chest. A little bit of a
Honestly, you had so much fun creating that challenge. You described it to me, and I thought it sounded great from the get go.
It was so fun because I've always loved Deal or No Deal as like a show, like open the case and see what's inside. And just having that concept of being like, there's all these things scattered about to help you in this quest and to like give you your items. I think it was a really, I think that opening portion where everyone was opening chests and like figuring out what they wanted to do as a team, I think it made for an amazing I can't say equitable experience, but it was very luck based. If you open the
Mm.
right chest, your team got an advantage. And I heard throughout the episode, I can't remember if they made the final cut, but a lot of people were like, "Oh, how come we have to get 5 and they have to get 4?" Well, it's because it is fair. If you have 5 team members, you should get 5 items, but
Yeah.
um I think it's just the Badgers had a bad roll on their items because the Badgers got a lot of nether items. So, do you would you say going into this that one team had an ultimate advantage over the other? Because while the Badgers had more players and an advantage, what?
Nothing, nothing,
Okay, okay.
nothing,
Uh,
nothing. Don't worry about it.
Okay. While the Badgers had like an advantage in numbers and in the actual advantages that could be found in chess, they also had some harder items.
They did. They had some harder items, but it also came to, at the point where it's like they had to face reality and face that it needed for it to be even everybody needed to get something.
Right.
It wasn't fair that just X people did this. No.
Right.
No, everybody had to actually contribute to the challenge, which is kind of the point.
Right. Yeah, this was one of those challenges where you're really as fast as your slowest player. And oh is this your new background?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I love
For
it.
the time being, it's a little blurred, but we're driving the point across of what happens next
Next
episode.
week.
So.
Oh my god, next week. I cannot wait for everyone to see next week's episode. Next week's episode is a very big change of like not direction. It's just different for the one episode given the circumstances, but like this is a preview. Consider
I laughed
this
so
a
hard I made myself cry.
yeah, I'm so excited for you to listen back to the conversations that were had next episode. It's
Oh
so
my
fun.
god.
Uh
So yes, context. That's part of. Now you
yeah.
see why I was like scooting to the side. I think you're just watching. He's like, "What is she doing?"
Yeah, it was
Thank-
like yeah,
Hi, baby.
yeah. So a new special guest has joined us, Astarion. Woo!
We will discuss this later.
Yes, next week once we have
Yeah,
a lot more once the
context
context
to
is
provide.
yes. But I think this episode, like I was saying, your team is as fast as your slowest person, and if you are able to do your thing fast, you really need to go in and help those people.
Yeah,
And
and that's definitely what I saw with the frogs.
right. The frogs were I don't wanna say they were all consistent, but, I think where they fell, someone else was picking up the slack at all
Exactly, like, they were all,
moments.
like, super ready to contribute to help each other get their items,
Mhm.
and then I think one of the most standout moments is when Nugs is talking about the bees,
Yep.
and then somebody's like, "Oh my god, here's something here," and then
Yep.
Nugs immediately ran.
Right. Yeah.
So that was a true collaborative effort, and they really did their job.
Right. Yep. Because Dion was like, "Hey, you should check over there," and then that's where Nugs went, and then Nugs was like, "Oh, while I'm here, I can get this for you while you go find the gold," and it just really ended up working out really well for all of them, and I think I think this is where we saw the two strategies of Badger's very calm, collected, patient, trying to move through things steadily versus the frogs who are go, 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 go. I think this episode was very showing that the go, go, go mentality worked really well. So,
It did for the situation that they were going through, which was to find these items. The go 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 mentality was much better than the Badgers going all chill, because
mhm,
they it's like I think they lost a lot of time in the ender. Because yeah,
yes,
the
and
seed was difficult. That is true. We are not going to deny
yes,
that. But there are things you can do to kind of speed run, especially since a lot of these people are veteran Minecraft
right,
players that they could have just like sped through and it's like, okay, not here, go
yep.
elsewhere. Like, if you cut it, just hey, by the way, I changed the background. Uh,
Ooh,
because we'll see Astarion back
spooky.
next week. Uh,
Spooky cuts. What just happened? Uh,
uh. So yeah, you'll see Astarion next week again. Don't
yeah,
worry
yeah,
about that.
yeah. Um,
Continue.
yeah. For this episode, we what were we just talking about? Oh yeah, what I was gonna say is for the Nether, you can find the Nether Fortress very easily as a speedrunner. If you just look it up, you can use your F3 to find it very easily. And
And sorry, continue.
I was just gonna say, I think if the Badgers like took the time, because the fortress was right there by their portal. If they took the time to like figure out, okay, how can we locate this quicker? I think they would have had a genuine shot to win.
No, and considering that Pixel is always running the F3 menu with all the things that you
Yeah.
see
Hmm.
everything in Pixel screen, you would have thought, hey, they could have totally figured it out
Hmm.
because they spent an entire chunk of that challenge complaining that they couldn't find it, they couldn't find it, they couldn't find it. But a lot of these people are speedrunners or play this a lot.
Yeah.
Lauren spends a lot of time in there.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm staring at the candle again because I smell the burning.
You're good.
Uh
You're good.
so it's they had a fair shot, even with 5 items, which were not complicated items, because the
Yeah.
gas
No.
here, you defeat a ghast.
Yep.
An Eye of Ender, you find those. I'm sorry, is it the Eye of Ender or the Ender Pearl? I can't forget. I forgot.
I have Ender. You need an
Eye
Ender
of Ender,
Pearl and the Blaze
and
Rod. Yep.
you find those kind of a lot.
Yeah.
And I casually play Minecraft, and I sometimes have a bunch in my inventory.
Right.
So they had accessible items. Lauren only needed to make a book and a quill,
Right.
and
I
just type everything up
and
verbatim.
type. Yep. It's one of those things where it's like all everything is so vastly different in the spectrum, but like once you complete your item, you really need to go back out and figure out where your team's stuck on. And I think they did that, but and especially Lauren is the one who's able to go in and find the fortress really quick. But
Mhm.
I think what could have been better overall, because we gave everyone the opportunity to switch their items, the frogs took that advantage, and
They did.
they swapped the honeycomb and the diamond block, I believe. I think if the Badgers took the time to, like, sit and say who can get what item the easiest and, like, mix it around, I think that they would've, I
Yeah,
think
because
they
they
could
were
have
able
been
to
more
swap items.
successful.
Was it amongst each other? I can't
Yeah,
remember. My
amongst their team. Mhm.
Yeah, they swapped it. Was it Nux who volunteers like, "Oh, honeycomb, I can get that right quick."
Yep. Yep.
It's like they had the option. Everything was an option, and they choose to stick to their guns.
Yeah, and I admire the confidence, and especially with finding the fortress, it's one of those things where you know how to find it or you don't, and so I I can't really you can't really blame anyone on the team for not knowing how to find it, but it's one
Mhm.
of those things where they could have collaborated better to find the find out what needed to be done. And yeah, so I know that leads us into a very dominant Frogs win and the Badgers going to Campfire Council. And from the conversations that we see, Lauren says that she believes Pixel was like the worst performing in the challenge and she wants to vote them out. Jacob's the camp counselor for returning the last thing, so the two of them are planning on Pixel. But then this is where things get so interesting. And
They did. They really did.
yeah, I won't spoil anything, but it really turns the tide of the season because from Jacob talking to Edgy, Jacob tries to say, "Hey, we're putting votes on Pixel. Can you vote for Pixel?" And although it seems like Edgy is initially going to skew in that direction, they ultimately end up saying, "I think I'm not too sure who I'm going to vote for. It might change." And because
Mhm.
of that, that really shatters immediately the trust between them and Jacob and Lauren, and it ends up working for the better. It's really such an amazing moment to watch because once we get to the votes, if we see another tie, that ultimately ends in Toad going home. Love you, Toad. Thank you, Toad, for playing.
Yes,
Uh,
love, love, love. Mini hearts.
yes,
Thank you so much,
many,
Toad, for being
many.
there with us.
Yeah, Toad did amazing too. We'll get back to Toad, but I, 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 because of that, like lack of confidence that was
Mhm.
instilled into Lauren and Jacob, they flipped their vote onto Felix. Whereas if they kept their votes for Pixel, it would have been 4-3 with Pixel going home.
Which is initially what Lauren wanted.
Right. But uh because of that switch, it ends up coming back onto Toad. And um Toad did amazing. I know Edgy says it, the whole thing with like the chest exploding. You have to choose like what slows you down, and everyone sees something different based off of their circumstances through the challenge. So
Yep.
we're not here, Mitri and I aren't here to say who did worse or who didn't, but uh, and I don't even know what I would like how I would rank everyone's performance in this episode, but it just came down to it really came down to the two of them. Felix was obviously very strong in the challenge, trying to find the fortress, always on the case. But yeah, I think this is where we really started to see the game take effect and lines be drawn because Toad
Yep.
was the unfortunate casualty of um, uh, the this split vote. So
They were.
yeah. So after 4 episodes, but maybe Toad has a chance to come back.
Mm.
What?
Hmm?
So What I will say as like a little insider's notice, because you're watching this, is episode 5 and 6 are linked together. So episode 5 is a part one, and episode 6 is a part two. Two campers
Yep.
will still go home, as per normal, but expect things to be very different. So um, I won't say anything more, but um, I won't say anything more, but uh, I
Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good. I love it.
It's my mom giving me shit.
I love it. So I won't spoil anything. You'll just have to see next week. For
Yep, you're
some,
gonna have to. You're gonna have to tune in next week to find out.
yeah, for some Baldur's Gate, brain rot. Ooh, and also this is Chef Michi's episode next episode. So expect, yes,
Oh
expect her to be in control.
yeah!
I'll still be there, don't worry.
It's not like the episode near the finale.
What episode? Oh, yeah. I love that episode. Okay.
That was so much fun.
That
No,
one,
there's probably footage of me somewhere being like, "Hey, you're supposed to be
I
stop
can
giggling."
I I'm not I think that's episode 10. That one's gonna be a fun one. But yeah,
Oh my god, I laughed so hard. That was a great episode.
oh yeah, it was great. Right now we're a third of the way through the season. So after a third of the season, Michi, who is your winner pick? Or was your winner pick at this time?
I think one of my winner picks was like Nugs, to be very honest with you, because Nugs was very standout and they were very consistent in making sure that their
Mhm.
team got what needed to get done.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mm.
especially across the past two challenges, uh Nugs was well part of the last three challenges and the acting one. Nugs was a part of like the high team for the
Mhm.
Taco Bell skit. Nugs was on top of the puzzle in the last episode, and then in this episode, Nugs was just very in command of finding the honeycomb, finding the apple, finding the diamonds. So it's just really in charge and putting on a great performance. I think for
And not just the performance, for me, it was also like the camaraderie, like really trying to make sure everyone was okay, handling things,
mhm,
surviving, making sure that they had what they needed to have. Like
mhm.
Nugs was very on top of all of that.
Yeah, and then for me, I think if I had to, so going back to when we were recording, I think for me, I was to pick someone from the frogs. I think I think I thought that who am I trying to say? I think I thought that Jacob had a good chance because he
That's fair.
was
That's very
very
fair.
there. He's very there to like play. Had the advantage, used the advantage, trying to swing votes. He's a very active player. And then from the Badgers, I think I was between Lauren and Edgy for the
Oh,
most
I was
part.
definitely between Lauren and I was more Felix actually.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They both performed really well.
They did.
Yeah.
And like in that episode I was leaning more towards Lauren and Felix because they were both doing an incredible job,
Mhm.
each respectively. Felix watching out for everybody, making sure that things were where they needed to go,
Mhm.
and where they needed to be.
Yeah. I think I think we're at a point in the game where like everyone was a contender, and I think we all had different ideas of how the season could end, but you'll just have to keep watching to find out. But in the meantime, you can tune in Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern time for episode 5 of the Totally Dramatic Survival Games, where maybe someone will go home, maybe someone will not. But in the end, by episode 6, we will lose 2 more players. So that's
Yep.
all I will say. That's all I'll say. So tune in next week, and then okay, and then next week at 12 p.m. Eastern
Mhm.
time, join me and Michi again for another fireside chat recapping all things totally dramatic survival games. Michi, thank you, and thank you all for watching.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Okay. My mom threw my hocus